With the cold weather upon us, we're all craving a little bit of comfort food. One of my favorites is sukiyaki. My name is Willow, and this is You Need a Bento. Let's make lunch. So, to start, we are going to start with our stock. In here, I have 125 mils of water, to which we're going to add about half a teaspoon of dashi powder. Check your package directions. And we're just going to give that a quick mix. And to this, we're going to add about 2 teaspoons of sugar. I've used a raw sugar here. You can use whatever you have. I find the raw sugar gives it a depth that you don't get from white sugar. And also, to give our sauce all the flavor that it needs, and a little bit more because this is going to be served cold, we're going to add 125 milliliters of soy sauce, 100 milliliters of sake or cooking wine, and 125 mils of mirin. We're going to give that a stir. And we're gonna let it heat until the sugar melts and you don't smell alcohol off it anymore. If you can't use alcohol for whatever, cooking wine, mirin, sake, whatever, the mirin is harder to replace, but the cooking wine you can replace with a bit of water and a little bit extra salt. And on the side here, you can just barely see it at a frame, is a tray with a little bit of blanched broccoli, some beef tubes, beach mushrooms, and some carrots. Also udon noodles that have been boiled per the package directions and rinsed in cold water for a good while until they don't feel starchy anymore. These are my beef tubes. We pick them up from the Asian market around here, and you may not be able to find them, and that's fine. These are our beach mushrooms, nice long stems. I like these in sukiyaki just because they have a nice meaty core. It soaks up just enough sauce. And this is our broccoli. I haven't done anything to it besides blanched it for about like 10 seconds. Carrots, I've cut into fun shapes because we are doing bento and it should look, you know, appetizing. And this is my pickled ginger. You don't have to use this if you don't like it, you don't want it, you don't have it. I'm using beni shoga today. It's a little bit on the harsher side, but I find it works really well because sukiyaki can be very heavy. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes. You can see it's steaming. It's not boiling yet. So I'm gonna really quickly do wrong by convention here. And I'm gonna throw my udon noodles in first. But it's only gonna be for the most brief second, because we don't want them to soak up too much of the sauce. We just want to get them coated. Now that's going to give your noodles just enough seasoning for your bento box without being overpowering. It can get overpowering very quickly. Hi, Annie. So next I'm going to throw my mushrooms in. These are going to stay in a little bit longer because they do go in raw. You want to make sure they're all in contact with the sauce. They can't cook if they're not anywhere near the heat. And also, I'm going to throw my meat in. Now, if you do manage to find these, they're great. Ours come frozen. And if you keep them in the freezer, they're great for so many different things, and they're really not that expensive. And with the meat, you want to be super, super careful. It is very, very thin, and it's super easy to overcook, and that's the last thing you need. I purposely kept my heat to medium, a little bit more than medium, just so that things don't cook too fast. Now at this point, you're going to want to decide whether you want your carrots cooked or raw. I think I'm going to leave mine raw just for a little bit of variation. But if you want to cook them, now is the good time to put them in. You might see some of your smaller mushrooms getting cooked. If you leave them in too long, they'll end up soaking up far too much sauce. You see my beef is done. Remember that your meat will cook a little bit while it sits. So we're gonna take it out when it's like 90% done. And then just let the residual heat finish it off. You wanna see it kind of crinkle. See how it's all wrinkly? And it doesn't take any work from me to make it wrinkle. That's kind of what you want. If you pull it out and it sticks out straight as board, it's a little overdone. You might be able to save it by cutting it up fairly small and then throwing some sauce on it. Okay, and these guys, you're looking for them to squish a little under your chopsticks. You see how the chopsticks bite in? And that's without a whole lot of force. If you can squish anything if you force it hard enough, but if you can squish it without a whole lot of force, you're done. You don't want to see them like fall over and be limp, because then they're a bit overdone and they're just going to become mush in your box. Now, back on our board, we're going to take our bento. I've chosen a medium-sized bento, and we are going to take some of our noodles and fill up the bottom section. Now, how many will depend on what your appetite is like and who this bento is for. I'm just going to put a little pickled ginger on top there. Looks a bit more appetizing, doesn't it? Then, in our middle section, I like to start with vegetables. So we'll fill the corner. Now, I personally like to have my broccoli look kind of like a little forest, so all of the top parts sticking out. I don't like any of the bottom parts to be seen, but that's just personal preference too. Now, these parts on the edges, I don't mind so much to be sticking out. What we're gonna do, take some of our meat, two pieces, a little more than I would like, but that's okay. A couple of mushrooms. It's helpful if you can lay them cap side up. Cut them down if you have to. Okay, and in this little spot here, I'm gonna have to use my hands. I have carrots cut into cherry blossoms, chrysanthemums, and hearts. There we go. Now here on the side, I have a little pitcher of the sauce that we made. Now you can take a little bit and just pour it on. Any extra that you pour on is going to pool at the bottom and continue the seasoning process underneath. You can throw a little pickled ginger on top. I like the freshness that it gives to heavy dishes like this. And there we are, all finished.
A warm hug from your lunch. I hope you like it. Try it out and see what you think. I'd love to hear all about it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.